Hey, this is Sandy,
And Randy.
and we're here on AT Corner.
Being an athlete trainer comes with ups and downs, and we're here to showcase it all.
Join us as we share our world in sports medicine.
Welcome back to another episode of AT Corner. For our story episode this week, we are going to be talking about one of the most important pieces when you start working with other human beings, and that is
Communication.
communication.
I feel like it's that buzzword. I think we talked about this before, that buzzword where people are like, what is your communication style?
Yeah,
Or-
I've actually gotten that on an interview
I was
times.
actually going to ask you that in this episode,
Yeah.
if you have.
Yeah, I have gotten actually a few times in interviews, like, what's my communication style?
But I feel like beyond that, also, I feel like everyone's like, oh yeah, have good communication.
Yep.
I have good communication. And it's like, what does that actually mean?
What does that mean?
So I kind of broke it up into many different sections. It's kind of broad.
Okay.
I started with just in general how many sports you work with, because I feel like it's very different to work with just one group versus multiple groups.
Yeah.
Or even
It
like
is different.
if you talk to head coach versus assistant coaches,
Mm-hmm.
or how you structure that. So the number of sports, also communication for injuries,
Mm-hmm.
because that's something we have to do all the time. And working with coaches, working with admin a little bit, and then also just staying organized and like we go into
Yeah.
calendars and stuff like that. But yeah, it's kind
Nice.
of like a broad topic,
Nice.
which I feel like communication kind of is.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
So first thing I wanted to start with was, like I said before, the how many sports you work with.
Yeah.
I know I wanted to get your perspective on this because you used to work with just one sport team.
I've slowly been increasing the sports that I work with, the number of sports I work with.
Right.
Yes.
How many sports do you have now?
So now, I mean, just solely that, like, I oversee, I think it's about 6.
Okay.
I think I have 6 sports that I solely, like, oversee.
Like
And-
6 teams?
Yeah, 6 teams.
Okay.
And then, well, no, because some of them are men's and women's. Right now, I have to count it out. Let's see, I got men's and women's basketball, men's and women's volleyball, men's and women's water polo, and then men's and women's swim. It's like 8.
Yeah.
Never mind, 8.
That's all. I mean, then you share some.
Badminton, but
Yeah.
I never see badminton.
And track, kind of.
Technically on paper, but where I'm at in the gym athletic training room, none of them are ever going to come in.
Right.
They're going to go to the
The main
athletic training room in the stadium, which is
Mhm.
like right there for them. So
That makes sense.
yeah, but yeah, so yeah, 8.
Well, we have just one main ATR, so and we have 22 sports. Randy and I are both in community college, different community colleges, but we have 22 sport teams at my college, and we
Same.
kind of split it, where in the fall, at least this year,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just primarily football, and I kind of like jump in with
Yeah.
some of the other sports, but then all 3 of us, because there's 3 athletic trainers,
Mm-hmm.
all 3 of us work with both basketballs, but we have like point of contact.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the spring we have a lot of sports in the spring, but I don't think we're going to try this season, just trying to split the sports kind of a generic,
Oh, like
They can-
evenly,
right,
Like just everyone's kind of sharing it.
right, for the most
Okay.
part.
Nice.
Makes for a better work-life balance.
Yeah, it does. That's true. That is what they say when you switch to like a medical model.
Is that what that is?
That can be a part of a medical model. I don't think it's like it definitely has to be. I think some places. I mean, I don't know. I haven't been into a medical model, just from what I've heard.
I thought medical model was more your boss is the
That is in the like in general, but
Mhm.
a part of that is like, oh well, you don't necessarily have to have a team.
Mhm.
Or like if you're not there that day, oh, this person can take over. So
Mhm.
I've heard that as being a possibility of a benefit of the medical model.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean,
'cause
yeah.
it is you're under a medical professional
think
as
that-
your boss.
I think the point of contact really helps, because then the coaches
Yes.
know who to contact.
yes.
And like any one of us can take like whatever.
Mm-hmm.
like take on the insurance claim or like working with that athlete or whatever. But I think the point of contact is really important to
For sure.
sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
But some people just work with a bunch of sports on their own.
That's true. That's the reality of at least for sure the high school and
community college.
California. Yeah, that's true. And in community college too.
So I did ask this on our story, and it was a slider, and the average was actually most people had just under 10 sports.
Okay.
That they were kind of like
sweet. Right around the average.
Look at that.
Look at that.
So Stephen T said, I have done a lot of sports, but now I have just one. I am confused, in a good way, only having one team to worry about. I'm able to focus more closely on the athlete and the main injuries you see in that sport instead of just reacting to what's in front of me.
Yeah, I feel that. It is nice having one sport. I do miss part of that because, you just, first of all, you become that sports athletic trainer, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like you become, like if you work baseball, you are now a baseball athletic trainer. You just, it happens. Right. So, but no, I do miss that. Like you just have one team to think about, one set of athletes to worry about. On the flip side though, now there's like, coach is going to be just, you got to interact with coach a lot. About especially about certain athletes. Right. I remember when like I knew if it was a certain athlete that was coming in, I knew probably in about 5 minutes, coach is going to come in with that panicked look. Right. And even if I tell him what's going on, I'm going to have a phone call 20 minutes later. Okay. So what does it look like? What's going on? I'm like, we'll get there. I haven't even started treatment yet. We'll get there.
Right.
So, I mean, that is the flip side of that. Double-edged sword.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't really worked with one sole team. I think the closest would be football. But, I mean, really, at the community college, you're working football, but you're also jumping into some of the other sports.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I feel like right now, I'm the closest I will be to working ever one team.
Yeah.
But even with that, like, football is the beast, and I look at each position group as a different team. I mean, luckily they're on the same schedule, which is nice. Like for the most part, weights are at this time, meetings are at this time. But I have like my head coach, and then my defensive coordinator. I have my offensive lineman coach. I have and the assistant coach over there, and then I have like the DBs and just like the different position groups that I have to talk, and it's not just like one coach per position group, especially like from where I was to where I am now. Like it's a lot different. Yeah. Knowing like how the hierarchy is, and like also who's been there a long time, or like who's full time and who's like more of an assistant role. And so it's kind of like juggling that. It's like juggling multiple teams, but it's also one.
Well, that was just like work when I work track. I mean, without the collisions and all the things football entails. But it's true. It was like there were basically 5 different teams all wrapped up in one, except for they definitely aren't just one team, because weights wasn't like that.
Oh, interesting.
Weights, they all had their own weights time, right? Like the thing with track is, because it's so like it is an individual sport but also team sport kind of thing, is each event thinks they're the more important event.
Oh yeah.
So they're going to do their own thing relative to whatever anyone else is doing. So that's how you end up with a schedule where, oh well, this team's going at or this group's going at this time. Now this group's going at this time. This day they have weights. So it is a lot of, because it is like truly 5 different teams at that point. So
right. So this next one's anonymous. They said, I work with a hockey team, and it's the sole team I work with. The core staff is myself, head coach, assistant coach, and equipment manager. I usually just update coaches in person, but I also send out an injury report with a list of current injuries and any problems guys might have. We are affiliated with an NHL organization and have players affiliated with them on my team. Since they are affiliated, I have to report to their head athletic trainer as well. I have a really good relationship with them and include her on the IR email that I send every day. I also call and text her for more serious things. She then communicates with her organization, which is much larger than mine, on any current injuries down here that could affect guys being called up on that team. We had an incident last week where we had a player injure his wrist, but played through the whole game. I let her know that night about what was going on and how he's doing. That next day, the coaching staff wanted to get called up to play on that team if his wrist was feeling good enough to do so. I communicated with them the whole time how I didn't think so, and the decision was eventually made not to bring him in. In the past, though, if there wasn't that communication, they would have no idea what was going on my side, and it could turn into a real mess really quickly. Luckily, it turned out well.
Ooh, I never thought of that. About
Hmm.
like that kind of like minor league system kind of thing. Like, you know, the big club doesn't necessarily know what's happening unless
Right.
you have that kind of communication. So they just bring
Right.
somebody you don't know.
Right.
You don't know what injuries they've been going through. Oh, so that's true. I haven't even thought of that.
We'll go into this a little bit more, but like on my injury report, I have 2 sections, and actually
Nice.
no one brought this up. I don't know if anyone else does this. But I have 2 sections. I have like my main injury report, and then down below I have, and I think I'm going to rename it because right now it just says minor injuries, things to keep on your radar. And they're color coded, so they're all green. Like, I'm not worried about these, but just to keep on your radar in case they get bigger. But I'm not ready to put them on like the injury report yet, but like I think I'm going to rename it like taking care of business, or like basically like these are the guys that are like coming in and like doing their stuff, but like I'm not worried about them, kind of thing. But it reminded me of that because I feel like he's the I feel like this person's like, oh, like I need to communicate this with you in case it's something, because otherwise if I don't communicate, you're gonna get up there and then that's just gonna fall. It's gonna Jenga tower down.
Yeah, exactly.
And I feel like this also brings up the point that and especially when I'm talking to my students, like, how much should you be communicating? I err on the side of over communication. And I recommend that other people do too, because I feel like if you have like extra communication, it's not necessarily harmful. But if you don't communicate something, then that's when people get upset.
Yeah, for sure.
For example, like I will, that's why I have the baby list. That way I can like, I call it the baby list, like the keep taking care of business, like whatever list. Cause then that way, these are guys who are coming in. Who might have something. Right. I don't want it to be blasted all of a sudden. This person has like an Achilles tendinopathy that they've been dealing with a long time that I know about, but it hasn't been affecting their practice. But it's something that like, okay, keep this in mind. Or like, if they're trying to figure out, and like, obviously it's not our job to figure out like who is going to be like starter or like not, but at least if like a starter's hurt, they can kind of see an idea of like how healthy is the rest of their depth. Yeah, for sure. Do you want to read the next one?
Yes, this one's by Marissa S. 21 sports when counting boys/girls seasons separately. 6 in the fall and 6 in the winter and 9 in the spring. I've got lots of color-coded lists and calendars. My AD keeps the school calendar up to date pretty good overall, so I have that synced to my phone. Then I take that calendar and color-code it in a list by day on an Excel sheet. Then input that color-coded list onto a paper desk calendar. And finally, each month goes on my whiteboard wall calendar, which I also keep color-coded. I have a sports med Instagram, and I post the schedule each week and tag all the sports so they know where I'll be. And if something's missing or wrong, they let me know. Most of my coaches are good about realizing if I'm not at something. It's because they forgot to tell me about it, and they take the blame and don't expect me to drop everything and get there.
Well, isn't nice. That great that culture? Nice. I was like, wow, to take responsibility. Oh, if this person's not here, I wonder.
My fault.
I wonder why. Maybe they didn't know about it. Yes. And whose fault is that?
Yeah, so I send like a welcome letter to the visiting athletic trainer. Now, like for community college, in California, right? Not a lot outside of football. Not a lot of ATs travel with their sports unless it's kind of postseason. But I still like to send it out just in case, because I've literally had some visiting ATs just show up during basketball. They're like, I'm here. I'm like,
I feel like basketball is more common because usually we only have basketball in the winter. So it's like, we actually get to.
Yeah. So I was like, this is kind of nice. So I was like, I should send it. And then also I like sending it too, because like if they're not going, they can send it to the traveling party, like to the coaches, because it has a lot of logistical information. So now the coaches have it. So if I have to send someone to an ER, they have the list of, theoretically, not saying that the coaches actually do have it.
Right.
But theoretically, they should have that list of, where are we going? Oh, they're going here. Oh, I do have that address. So I do like doing that. And it actually helped me one time because in my email, I always say like, oh, the game's this day at this time. And one of the visiting ATs was like, hey, I thought it was, I have it at this time. Yep. Coach failed to let me know
Oop.
that the game time has changed.
Yay. So I've had that on different levels. Like I've had coaches and ADs who are really, really good at keeping me updated and keeping the website updated and kind of keeping everyone in the loop of when things are going to happen. But I've also had where coaches don't. Oh, I've had an AD who literally, and I want to say this AD might have been part-time.
Oh, okay.
And I feel like that might have been, that might have been part of the dilemma. And I also feel like they were hired like super late. So I feel like that also could have been, like looking at the whole picture, like trying to see like why did I drive so far to have so many times that, that there were no games. But eventually what I end up having to do was I just asked the team manager, because the coaches, like I asked the coaches and the coaches were literally like out of sight, out of mind. It was back when I was a part-time as well. And it was one of my first jobs. And so like, I don't think that it was, I think it was more like an out of sight, out of mind thing. But so I ended up asking my team manager, who is now going to be an athletic trainer.
Oh, that's awesome.
By the way, I didn't know that at the time. But I started asking my team manager, and I was like, can you please text me if anything changes, if the schedule changes, if the venue changes, because I've had some of those. Like same time, but no one's at the place where I am.
Yep. I remember that.
Yeah. And we didn't, like, our school didn't have, like, they were doing a lot of construction.
Yeah.
And they didn't have, like, a spot of their own yet. And so we were, like, renting out a lot of, like, local facilities. So there was a lot of changes. Do you have any tips for juggling multiple sports at once?
No, because I'm still learning. Yeah, I think like the biggest things are like at like the most basic thing is like, hey, in season has to kind of take your a priority because it's fair, right? Like
it helps make your decision easier.
Yeah, right. Like people have like games coming up, and like they need to get ready first, right? Like you're doing your conditioning in like October, right? Like if you're a spring sport, right? So it's like, yes, it is important. But when there's only one of me and all of you, like I have to make sure I'm giving as much attention as I can to my in-season sports. Right.
Someone did say that. They said focus on in-season sports but never turn down an athlete.
Yeah,
and I think this is something that is hard for people to do at first, but you also have to, and I always like stress this, like you have to make each interaction meaningful.
Yes.
Because it's not always easy for an athlete to come into the athletic training room in pain, vulnerable, asking for help, and they will remember if you are not able to help them. And I think that that's gonna be a barrier in the future, even if they're out of season and you make really good attempts to explain why you can't treat them. I think that's, you have to make that meaningful for them. So even like, you know, I can give you a bag of ice now if you ice, or you know, I can, you know, here's a foam roller, you can do this on your own, or something that like you still give them an interaction rather than, nope, go away.
Yeah.
Because then when they're actually in season, they're going to be confused on when they can come to you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I at least like try to do something to where some kind of treatment. I try to do at least, if I can do something hands-on, I'll try and do something hands-on. Obviously that's hard for a lot of people, and I'm still balancing that because I have been so manual therapy based. But because you know, a lot of people feel like, oh, I've gotten something done.
Right.
I got treatment. Right. He like the athletic trainer helped me. Right. Even if like in reality, hey, it was something really quick. We just get this done real quick and then we'll move on. The athlete doesn't necessarily know that. They just know, hey, they took care of me. All right. So.
Right. There's another thing someone wrote was delegate tasks as much as possible. I kind of added to this because student athletes can do their own treatment. Like they can get their own heat packs. I train them to go like, here's the hydroculator, or like if a student can help them, make sure they go do that. If they like, let's say I have so many wrist sprains, so like or like finger sprains, they can go get the swelling down on their own. They can go get the massage lotion.
Yeah.
They can like start pushing the swelling, like do
Yeah.
a little effleurage on themselves. They start to learn that, and then they start to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And then suddenly I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
true.
like you teach them the exercises once, or you teach a student who can teach them the exercises, and suddenly you don't have that person anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true.
Or if you have MSAT students, they can help you, obviously, but delegate those tasks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to get more. There's like years that I'm like really good about it, and like right now is not. I'm like on a down, but like the rehab sheets, I'm trying to get more and more people to actually have them, because when they have them, then they have a list of things that they can do.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I need to do that. I need to do better about that too.
And on the rehab sheet, I also include like some of the manual therapy things that we do, and I'm like, you can only do these like once or twice a week.
Yeah.
So like, do all your like come in, start your rehab, grab your rehab sheet, do your rehab, and then once you're done with all those, if I'm free and if it's been like a while, then we can do the extra. Or if I'm dealing with someone who's like, I'm really trying to get them going, then I can prioritize them and do more manual therapy or whatnot.
I know, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to put together some laminated like recovery exercise sheets. Because like for like shoulder, like for my shoulder, like an arm care kind of thing. So that's my big project for the year.
It's a good idea. Yeah. I get bored with I really like change. I get really bored with a lot of things. So I'm trying to put together rehab like groups or ideas. So like here's a list of all the hamstring exercises that I know, and you get to pick 5 of them.
Nice.
Or like then I can look at it, and then when I'm writing a rehab sheet, I'd be like, oh, I haven't used this one in a while, because I will forget about things if I don't see them. So like I'm trying to keep that list updated. It is nowhere near done, but we're working on that.
Slowly but surely.
I've started it like since I was a student, like years ago, and it is like every once in a while I remember, and I do like a bunch, and then I forget. Yeah. So another tip that someone gave was to meet with coaches to talk about communication style.
Yes. Overall, that is a good thing to do. I have one coach where I literally brought that up, and it's just, whatever.
See, that's the thing. It's like
good talk.
It's definitely hit or miss.
Yeah. It is hit or miss for sure, but it is a good thing to at least do.
Right. I think it's a good thing to try. Or at least like even this, like if you don't want to sit down and have like an official meeting, you can just like, hey, do you prefer call, text, or email? Yeah. Or in person. Like just very simple. Or hey, is this working for you, or is there a better way I can communicate with you? Yeah. Simple. A lot of coaches like simple.
They do like simple.
One thing that I forgot before we go, I actually want to stay talking about coaches, but one thing that I forgot to talk about is someone said make a priority list of where I'll be each season, so there's no day of decision making and no arguing. I think that's really smart, especially if you're working with like a ton of sports. You're like, listen, soccer, super high risk versus volleyball. Yeah. Like I'm gonna be over by soccer, but if volleyball needs me, you can call me. Yeah. So going back to the coach thing, we have talking about like how you communicate with coaches. We have in person versus not. We have an injury report, and then I also included just a quick question, like if you've ever worked with a super great, easy to work with coach, which I hope that all of us have. Yes. Like I hope that all of us have had that green grass on the other side. I have. And I asked, what made that coach so great? Like, what is that gold standard of that coach athletic trainer relationship, and how did that play out, and how are you trying to like achieve that with your other coaches?
It was just I think like his willingness to work with me. Mm-hmm. Right? Like he understood that like if I'm telling him, hey, this person can't do this, like he knows like, okay, like
I'm not out to get you.
Yeah, like he would know like, okay, shoot, like Randy's doing this to give me the best chance of having my athlete. Right. that doesn't mean like he would just like when I tell him something, he'd be like, oh, okay. Right. Like there were times we would have a discussion, but see, that's the thing. It was a discussion. It wasn't an argument. It wasn't him trying to get like a ridiculous request, like basically asking for his cake and eating it too. Right. He would ask, he's like, okay, what about this? Like, what if I, and like, there's times I'd sit there and be like, because I trusted him, I can give him more leeway. Like, you know what? That might be possible. All right, let's see what we can do. And he was also really good about like, because luckily where I was at, I was able to be at practice. So if there was a drill, like the athlete, and he was pretty good about asking, hey, can they do this drill? Because like before practice, I'd talk to him and be like, hey, they probably can't do this, this, and this. And then sometimes they would have a drill that was like, hey, well, what about this? And I'd be like, okay, wait, let me watch it. Let me kind of see what it looks like. And then I'd kind of give a decision like, yeah, you know what? They're probably fine to do that. Or yeah, no, probably not. Right. So I think that was really just it, kind of understanding that like I'm here to give you your best shot, like for your athletes and to make sure they're safe. Like I said, there were times that he was definitely like didn't like the decision sometimes. But all in all, like I think it was a really big respect between the both of us. Like we just had a really good communication. Like I said, like he would try to negotiate, and that's fine because it's not an argument. We're having a discussion, and he would know. Like I'd tell him, like, hey, if you're trying to go this aggressive, this is what could happen, and he kind of would be able to make like, okay, so
I call that negotiation.
Yes,
I got to go negotiate, and that's the thing is like for like 90% of things, we really don't have a hard stop. Because not everything is by the book. Like, I feel like concussions are the closest thing to, like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, what I say goes. But otherwise, it's like, okay, ankle sprain. Well, this person's going to be different than this person.
Yeah.
And how much can this person, like, even from day 2 to day 3, they've progressed a lot more than I thought they would. Or they had a setback because we did too much yesterday. So I feel like there's a lot more, like, leeway within a lot of our decisions.
Yeah, for sure.
Some things that other people said about what makes their favorite coach so great. Printed multiple month calendars with games and practices, or let me know about schedule changes. I feel like we talked about.
Yep.
That is okay. My current football coach, amazing. Like I have the schedule for almost 8 months out. I think. Yeah. Literally, like day by day times that are written on there for everything, so I can see when they're in meetings, when they're meeting with their eligibility people, when they're meeting with me.
Yeah.
Like if he didn't write treatment on there, I'll text him and be like, "Hey, treatment's at this time." He'll put it on there. It's a live Google Doc calendar. I don't know how he did it. It's amazing, and that is like so simple.
Yeah.
He just sends the link out.
Yeah.
And that's how he keeps everyone updated.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's pretty great.
Yeah,
it makes
sure.
And then even like the days off, like we are not doing anything this day.
Yeah.
So then I can see that like way far in advance.
Yeah.
Some other people say 100% trust and respect.
Yeah, I think that's a big one.
Well, okay. So I was thinking about this because one of my hands down favorite coaches to work with was absolutely the worst at telling me schedule changes. Which like sucks. To me, like I thought that would be like deal breaker.
Yeah.
Like why would I want to work with a coach who would not update me when the players are on campus versus off campus, if they're not going that day and I came early, or if I get to work and they're practicing already? Like that was super annoying.
Yeah, that's super frustrating.
Super annoying. But why was that one of my favorite coaches? Well, because everything I said was trusted and respected.
Yeah.
When it came down to my medical decisions, they were not questioned.
Yeah.
And like what I said was able to just go. I had another coach on the complete opposite spectrum who I was not a big fan of working with. Because actually most people weren't a fan of working with this coach.
Yeah.
I was warned when I came in that this coach, they had problems with this person, and it was difficult to work with this person. But the reality was, this coach was not a yeller. They didn't yell at me for my decisions. They did make me try to feel guilty about like certain things, like, oh, but this is such a good person. Like, how could
this kid?
How could you take this opportunity away from them? That's what this person said all the time. But I think that what actually made it so not so bad was that this coach actually, at the end of the day, at the end of the 20-minute long phone call on my way to work, this coach actually listened.
Yeah.
Like, it took a long time. We talked every single day on the phone, in person.
Yeah.
This coach went to my admin about me multiple times, but at the end of the day, they listened to me because they knew deep down that what I said had to go. And I think that's what really made it not that bad.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's very true.
A lot of people also said when coaches care about the athlete health versus just winning.
Yeah, I think that's a big one too. Again, the coach that I worked with, the perfect coach. Like, he was still a coach. So like when there were athletes, they were out for a while, and like when you get to that point, right, you're still kind of like, for the athlete, you're still trying to figure out, do I want to try and come back? Do I want to redshirt this year, kind of thing? And like he would have a conversation with. I never felt like it was like a pressuring conversation, but I still know like he has a bias. Right. He would love to have you on the field. Right. It's more trying to see if he can get you to feel comfortable. Right. See if he can help motivate you in that regard. Right. It was never like, oh, you should be like. I never felt like he was maliciously pressuring people. I just think he was just kind of doing his job of, I want my best player out there. We'll see what we can do with you, right? They're not going to just put this athlete in harm's way,
right? But
I would rather have you out there than not. So, yeah, I definitely felt like that makes a big difference, that the coach really kind of realizes that, like, hey, I kind of care a little bit more about the athlete's health than just winning a couple games, right? Because the athlete's gonna have to live with this for life, right? And I've seen it on that flip side where, I've seen like those coaches that talk all the talk of like how much they care about their athletes, but man, when it boils down to something like this, how much does that care matter anymore? Right. So I've seen both sides of that spectrum.
I've had a coach who, one of my football players had a concussion and they were completely cleared, but it took a while to get clearance.
Yeah.
And so technically, like, their clearance was Thursday or Friday before our Saturday game. And, I talked with our team physician, and I talked with my head coach, and my head coach called me and said, hey, I'm thinking about playing this person. I know that they're cleared, but we kind of talked about how it would be better if we save them for the next game versus this game, just to err on the side of caution. Are you okay with me putting them in for a couple drives?
Nice.
And so we were able to talk about like the weight of different things, and I thought that was really awesome that he reached out to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Lastly, someone wrote, treated me like a family or part of the team.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
It's nice to feel like you belong.
Yes. Especially after all the work I have done for your team.
Okay, let's move into injury reports, because I feel like this is kind of the bulk of our episode.
Yes.
Is going to be first of all, how do you communicate with your coaches? Most people said in person, with about 47%, followed by call or text, 42%. And surprisingly, only 9% said email.
Interesting.
But I'm wondering if those are the people, I mean, like, I guess primarily, what are you communicating by? I think most people don't primarily communicate by email.
Yeah, for me, it kind of depends right now, depending on the coach. When I had one team, it was all three.
Oh. I was like all three people? All three call, text, email,
Oh yeah.
in person.
At the end of the day, there was an injury report emailed. I text them to update on what's going on, and then more than likely the next day I go into the office to talk to them.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Also, as far as like in person for injury updates or scheduling, most people just said occasionally. It's not like a regular thing.
Okay.
28% of people said regularly.
I try to do regular.
I don't anymore. I used to be regular. Now I'm more occasional. But my last job, I would say that I was really close with my football coaches, at least a lot of the assistant coaches as well. But every Wednesday I would go in and talk. So every day I would send an injury report, but then every Wednesday I would go into their, like, where they were during meetings. And I would talk to all the assistant coaches.
Nice.
Yeah. So then I mean, there we had a lot different than I have now. Like, I don't think there's ever a place where like all of our coaches are at one time.
Yeah.
But like I was able to kind of go, and they gave me a like special knock, which I literally could not remember for the life of me. Do not know why. But they like wouldn't open the door because they thought I was an athlete. And they were like, no, you have to have this special knock.
Oh my gosh.
That's so I was funny. Like, okay, let me see if I remember it. And then I did it, and then they were like, no, that wasn't it. We thought you were an athlete. And so I just texted them. I was like, can you please let me in? This is me. It's me outside. It's me.
That's really funny.
I think it was really nice to do like in person every week.
Yeah.
Also just because it turned into like just joking and stuff. And like just hanging out and with a side of, you know, giving actual updates. And I felt like it really built my rapport, but I haven't figured that out yet in my new job.
Yeah.
So you still send an injury report, right? Or do you not?
Hybrid right now. Only one of my teams I have. I'm still trying to work out, see if it's feasible to do it for the rest. I don't like to just do things and then like.
Oh, right.
Then I'm going to have to stop because I'm like, oh, I can't.
Right.
So I'm still trying it out, but so far it's going okay. But yes, I do. I like doing that though.
Yeah.
Because it's something in writing that
no one can dispute.
Yeah, that coach sees. So when they say, "Oh, I wasn't told that," no, you actually had an email at this time,
right?
With this, right? So it's a nice way of putting our conversation on paper.
Some people say that they send something. Actually, 29% people say they don't send anything.
Okay.
27%. Actually, all of these are pretty close. 27% said I send something, but not an official injury report. And then I guess actually, yes, always, and yes, sometimes. Like those are two different categories, both at 22%. But I guess if you add those together, that does make the majority. So people do send something.
Yeah.
They do send an injury report. Only 29% of people don't send anything, which I imagine those people probably just talk in person or something. Justin N said, for our injury report, we include name, extremity affected, suspected injury, status for practice, status for conditioning, status for weights, and then notes for goals and more detail of what they can and cannot do.
Nice.
We include the coaches, strength coach, and all AT staff so they can check it daily. It's very helpful and a good idea. I have never been anywhere else that has done this, and I'm very impressed with it.
Nice. That's awesome.
So I do... my injury report's a little bit elaborate. I do their name, their position, because I only send an injury report for football. I've thought about for the other sports, but it's really hard for me to keep on it.
Yeah. That's the thing, right?
I need to get better. But I have their name and position because, and actually I really, the position is a little bit selfish for me because, I order it by that. So that way I can see trends like, oh my goodness, the entire O-line is injured.
Yeah.
Or like, wow, we have so many DBs right now who are like not feeling good. But I also color code it. So it's like, oh, look, they're all on there, but they're all green.
Yeah.
So like I'm not as worried about that.
Yeah.
But like there's a high incidence of them, you know. I also have the body part / injury. So sometimes I'll write like right knee sprain, and then I'll like put in parentheses like ACL or MCL or like something that, or sometimes I just write like right shoulder sprain and then their practice status, their game status, which isn't updated until Wednesday of the week, and then a category for notes, and then a category for return to play.
Nice.
Of like notes. And then I also don't update every single line every single day.
Yeah.
So I write the date updated in the far left column. So then the coaches can just scan and be like, oh, this hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And then I also include the baby list down below, the list that's like taking care of business or like minor injuries to keep on radar. Everything's color coded: green, yellow, red. Green is go, yellow is limited, red is stop.
Yeah.
Like out.
I like it.
It works for me.
It does work for you. That's right.
Sometimes it takes a while, just the formatting.
But
it's also like easier I send it all in the same email. Like I just hit reply all.
Oh, okay.
And so then you can also scroll through and see like trend, like how long has this person been on the injury report? Because it's a live document that I give to my coaches.
Okay.
But what I found with the live document is coaches they forget about it.
Yeah.
And so sometimes like with the live document before, I've been like, hey, I just updated the document. But then they have to go find it.
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh, maybe I'll just send the link every time. But then I was like, you know what? No, I'll just have the live document so they can see it 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'll just like I have an Excel, but then I just like copy the squares of like the main injury report, and then I paste it in the body of an email.
Nice. Yeah.
Because then if you add it as an attachment, they won't open it.
Yeah. Or maybe they can't.
Right.
Sometimes the computer doesn't work out very well.
Right.
I used to do a live document too with the last place I was at, which I thought was very, very convenient. I liked it. And same thing, I'd text them when it was updated and I'd include the link. So then, because I know they'll lose it. I mean, it's hard to manage like one particular link.
Right. I realized that when one of my coaches was like, "Where's the link? Where's the link?" Like all the time. "Where's the link?" I go, "Okay, here's the link."
But now I'm playing around with, because like Sportswear has like an option to make it. So since I'm already, my documentation's been impeccable this year.
Oh wow,
I'm on fire. I'm very proud.
I wish I could say the same.
I'm very proud of the efforts that I've put into that. But since I'm already on there, it's just I'm trying to keep it all in one place so I can boom. So I am playing around with Sportswear's like already like injury report system. I think it's been cool.
I used to do it on Sportswear. I think it takes too long, and it doesn't do what I want. That's why
that is the one thing. It doesn't have like it doesn't do it the way I would necessarily want it done. It's fine. It's good enough for me.
Right.
Like I said, I'm already on Sportswear so much. I just feel like, hey, I'd rather do this than shift.
I don't like
screens.
that you have to click and then click and then click and then click. I'd rather just click and type.
Yeah,
and then move on.
I wish they
enter.
Didn't. I wish they didn't include my diagnosis into the injury report either. Like it has the words like tendonitis or like sprain. Usually when I do mine, I just keep it generic with pain, like shoulder pain. And then I explain it to the coaches what's going on.
Right. It depends for me. Like things that have been ongoing for a very long time or things that I've already communicated to coach. Yeah. Then I'll put like actual like Achilles tendinopathy or something. But for things that I haven't, like I'll put like shoulder pain or like low back pain or like something like that. Yeah. So back to those live documents, 21% of people said they use a live document. 45% of people say that they update it whenever they remember or have an update. It's not like a regular thing. Yeah. And then only 17% of people said daily and 17% said weekly.
Nice. Yeah, I try to do daily.
Try. Do you want to read this next one?
Yes, this one's by Jillian A. For football, daily, track and cross country, weekly, / when something new pops up. Our strength coaches like consistency, so both injury reports are basically the same. We include injury, practice status as able, modified, out, lift status as able, modified, out, a notes area. I like to color code for ease, green, yellow, red for coaches, and for football we include a next game prediction, probable, questionable, doubtful, out. Nice, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah, I found that that's been really helpful for me too. They're the only ones I do. game updates.
Plus, it makes them feel like they're in the NFL.
I did have one place where my equipment guy asked for who was out, so then they didn't have to
get the gear out for that person.
Exactly.
Nice.
Otherwise, I just include strength coach,
Yeah.
athletic trainers, head coach, and then like all the full-time head coaches, and then all the or not all the full-time coaches on the staff, and then whoever asks me to be on the injury report for the assistant coaches, I can add them. Our last thing is just talking about schedules and kind of calendars and keeping organized.
Okay.
So I did ask about like staff meetings to discuss upcoming schedules. I know you guys do a lot differently than we do. So for context, Randy is at a community college with 3 athletic trainers, and I'm at a community college with 3 athletic trainers. And this is what we talk about like so much, I feel like, on this podcast is even within the setting, it is so different from place to place to place.
Yeah.
So, and we talk about this with burnout a lot. Like, even if someone's burnt out in one setting, people are like, oh, change settings. Sometimes you don't have to change the settings.
Yeah,
sometimes you just have to change the place.
The work environment.
Because you guys don't even talk about when you guys are going in, right? Because you guys are very separate.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have a general idea of when people are coming, but I don't know. Like my colleagues, I don't like. If something changes, I'm not sure.
Right.
Like
right.
if that person's in, I kind of go off of where we are at in the season. I'm kind of like, okay, they should probably be in there unless they've said otherwise. But yeah, I don't.
We have a Google schedule because we also all share a lot of things, and we also all share an office, and we all share the main ATR, and so we kind of have to know when people are coming in. So
well, and also too, it's a little bit easier because like so me, I'm in the gym,
right,
where the other 2 are in the stadium. So I mean, it just makes a different wrinkle because like I'm not in necessarily their vicinity the entire time to be like, oh hey, I'm probably coming in at this time tomorrow.
Right.
So.
Right. I mean, makes sense. But we have a Google. It's actually a Google sheet, so it's it's like an Excel, but I made it into a calendar kind of, and it calculates for our part times. It calculates their hours so that like we know. And then we also have a student section where they can enter like what time they're going to be in. They know what time we're going to be in. It has the home games, the away games, notes for the day, like just, and then where each of us are going to be. So then everyone can kind of be on the same page.
Yeah.
For staff meetings, 43% of people said they never have staff meetings to discuss schedules. And only 24 said always.
Interesting.
Stephanie W. said, I meet with our district AD once a week, which really helps the mental load, schedules, any items I need to address.
That's awesome.
Which I used to meet with my AD pretty regularly, but I feel like now I don't think I've even met with my AD once.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it might be different depending on the setting. I know where I was at before, I was on 3 meetings a week with the AD staff because I was also a part of the AD staff.
Oh, right.
As director of sports med. So we met. I mean, a lot of it I didn't necessarily have for them. Right. I was just there. Mm-hmm. And there was some stuff that they would bring up that, sports med had to be involved with. So I'd do 3 meetings a week with the AD staff. And then I tried to do, at least amongst our staff, a meeting once a month. Okay. Yeah. Like, I think it's better. Just because now everything's a little more formal. So when something's asked, it's not like, it got lost in the jumble or I don't know what that means. No, like we can talk about it. This is why it's important. Questions. Is there a better way to go about it? Stuff like that. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's a good idea. I do miss, as tedious and as annoying meetings can be, I do miss that because that was a perfect place to air out stuff. Right. To bring up,
it's called communication.
Yeah, I have a concern. All right, and we can talk about it in like an actual formal environment.
Right. So we have one last story, and this one kind of relates to schedules, and schedules go beyond what you have at work.
Yes.
And
true.
that's exactly what work-life balance is.
That's true.
You want to read it?
Yes, this one's by Stephanie W. Since my husband is also in sports, a radio play-by-play, for a different school, and we have a toddler, I have to go week by week. I have multiple print schedules and also rely on coaches to keep their schedules updated in rank 1, as it syncs with my phone. However, as they are coaches, they have to be reminded to keep schedules up to date. I'm the only AT at a medium-sized high school, and I have to focus on in-season sports first, with scheduling. I never turn down an athlete, but if I have kids waiting to get taped or evaluated, I'll triage for in-season first. True.
So other people said like they use like desk. They swear by desk and written calendars. Some people said planners. Some people said whiteboard calendars. Some people say like online. I would say that we use all of the above, and not just not just like individually.
Yeah.
Or not just like together. I mean like literally all of the above.
Yeah.
Like paper calendars. We have one of our greatest additions. A giant. It's like 34 by 34 inches whiteboard calendar in our ATR. Love that. It keeps everyone on the same page and same ideas. But yeah, our biggest one is online, and like you've gotten way more into paper planners than I have.
Yeah.
The problem that I have is if I'm on the go, I don't have
the
it.
planner. Yeah.
Right. Do you have anything else to add, Randy?
No. Communication's important.
Yes.
Very important. And you know what? You're going to have difficult coaches. You're going to have great coaches. It's just, you just got to find what kind of works for you at the end of the day. I mean, try to accommodate, like if it is a difficult coach, okay, well, what's going to make them at least happier? Maybe they're not going to be happy, but what do they feel comfortable with? Mm-hmm. And they may not give you anything. So then at that point, it's just, well, I'm going to do like what I think is effective. So.
Right. So anyway, this was a story episode. We do every other episode as education or stories. So next week we are going back to our education. It is a reporting year. We are running out of time for CUs.
And so, that education episode will be the last CU of this reporting cycle.
Yes. So make sure you check out next episode. If you're interested in our CEUs, head over to our website, or in the show notes, there's information on more CEUs. If you are interested in MedBridge, which is also a CU service, we have a code ATCorner to get $150 off. And then lastly, we do have some more tools for staying organized and on task at work. We're going to put it in our Facebook group, just kind of a condensed list of what people said. And then also, we want to share what you guys are interested in too, and know what you use to stay organized. So head over to our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/ATCornerPodcast. And I think that's it.
Perfect. Thank you for helping us showcase athletic training behind the tape. Bye.